Welcome to Take Notice, Amplifying Black Stories. I'm your host, Allison Preisinger-Heggins. Take Notice, Amplifying Black Stories is a podcast exploring society, culture, and current events through conversation. We aspire to create an open, respectful, and equitable space where guests may feel free to share their truth and lived experiences. Our core values are rooted in community, connection, and personal development. Stories help us learn, relate, and grow. We are here to listen, to take notice. Thank you for being with us. I would like to acknowledge the land on which this episode was created. I would like to show gratitude to the traditional ancestral land of the Coast Salish people, including the Duwamish people past and present. Land acknowledgement statements are an important part of honoring those whose land we now live and work on. We begin each episode this way to help spark ideas and keep these conversations in the front of our minds so that we may continue to be open to doing better. I encourage listeners to research the land on which you live and are listening right now. Recognizing this is just the beginning. Some additional next steps to consider would be to seek out the stories of Native people from our shared history and today. Spend time asking yourself difficult questions and challenging norms that may be linked to colonialism. Engage in your community around topics like land tax, curriculum, hiring practices, decision-making, organizing, and reparations. Seek out media created by Native people. The more you explore, challenge, and learn, the more questions may arise, but this is how we grow and connect. Thank you for joining us for Take Notice, Amplifying Black Stories. Typically in the past, I have spent some time in these intros to discuss current things going on and just get some thoughts out. As you are probably very aware, at the release of this episode on March 8th, 2022, there's many things happening in the world. Not that there hasn't been already, but there's a lot. And I'm still wrapping my brain around it myself. And so I won't say too much other than to say and encourage people to pay attention and to look at it, to see how you may be able to help. Maybe that's monetarily, maybe that's, I don't know how, but in some way. But to not look away from it and to be engaged in whatever form that you're able to be engaged in. That's what I would like to encourage. And also to be there for each other in whatever way that means for you. There's a lot happening and a lot to process. And yeah, so that's where I'll leave that. We have a great episode today. Stormi Banks was wonderful to talk to. She is known as the Gen-Z CEO. She's the CEO of PinkPrint, a financial resource created to help Gen Z and Millennial Black women get the funding they need to start their own business and change their lives. Banks has taught hundreds of women, giving them the financial knowledge and resources to succeed. She has been recently recognized as a thought leader on Forbes and New York Weekly. So check those resources out and see those articles for her. In this episode, we talk about her transition from working for a hair salon to owning her own mobile hair salon business, and then the catalyst for starting her own digital financial resource business, which is PinkPrint, and some of Stormi's other passions and influences as well. So I had a great time chatting with Stormi and connecting with her. I actually took some tips away from our conversation as well, which was unexpected but wonderful, and I appreciate it. So thank you for being with us, and please enjoy my conversation with Stormi Banks. Thanks for joining me, Stormi. I'm over in Seattle, in the Seattle area. Where are you located?
I'm in New York right now. East
Awesome.
Coast.
Nice. So we have a little time difference. I used to live in Boston, so I'm familiar with that time difference. But what area of New York?
Brooklyn. I've been in Brooklyn, for 8-9 years now.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. I've been to Brooklyn once, and it was a while ago now. Probably actually before you arrived. So
yeah, it's changed a lot. You probably won't even recognize it.
Yeah, I imagine. What brought you to New York?
I actually came to New York when I was 18. I had just graduated from cosmetology school, and I was like, I want to be on film, and I want, the New York dream that everyone loves.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually already had a sister who was here. So I was like, well, I can go there. I can be closer to family. And I was like, let me just go. And I came out here to be trained by all of the best and do New York Fashion Week. So that's what brought me.
Oh, that's exciting. Very cool.
Yeah, it was. But I was 18 in this huge city, and I was
Yeah.
like, I don't even know how to do my laundry. I don't even know how to cook for myself. I was like, okay,
Yeah, that's a big leap, that's for sure. Yeah, I feel like I'm still making that leap.
every
But
day.
yeah, totally. What area did you grow up in then? Where did you move straight from? You moved when you were 18, so where did you move from?
Yeah, I actually was born and raised in Michigan,
Okay.
Grand Rapids, Michigan. So all my childhood was there. All my siblings, we all grew up in the same household, and Michigan was the spot.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, from birth till 18 is Michigan.
I had a couple of years in between. I was actually in Memphis, Tennessee for a
Oh,
couple of
okay.
years. My mom ended up
Awesome.
getting remarried, and we were out in Memphis, Tennessee for a couple of years. So I did cosmetology school in what was it? Cosmetology school and senior year of high school in Memphis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was weird too. Like Michigan to Memphis was like a whole I was like, "What in the"
Oh, I bet. I don't think I've been to either, so I don't know what the differences are, but I can imagine just from what I've seen or heard. But what are some of the main differences you had to kinda sort through?
Oh my goodness. I It was a big respect thing, a difference in what in Michigan we felt was respectful versus what they felt was respectful in Memphis, especially when it came to children being in a children's place. We were not I wasn't used to that at all. My mom is an educator. She's been an educator for my whole entire life. She like does higher ed. So I was always taught to be free thinking, to be questioning things if I don't understand, if I don't believe in them. I was always taught to like speak my mind,
Mhm.
speak your mind, girl. So when I went to Memphis, that was like, you're talking back, you're being disrespectful,
Uh,
you're not saying ma'am, you're not saying sir, you're challenging authority. Like I quickly was, you know, a troublemaker. Um
oh, yeah.
and that was weird for me because I was actually always good in school. Like I was, always good at it, good in it. I played sports in the community, all that stuff.
Mhm.
So I was like, I'm not about to be calling you no ma'am. So
Yeah, right.
that was a huge transition. My mom was at that school constantly trying to fight for my rights as a
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah. Man, yeah, that sounds like a big shift, yeah, if you're just trying to have a conversation like you normally have and all of
Yeah,
a sudden there's an issue. Wow. Yeah, I didn't even think
yeah.
about that. That's a good
It was
point.
so weird. It was
Huh.
it was really weird. And then, being a kid, you don't know how to navigate through those differences. You don't know why it's happening, so you're just being like
Right.
combative. I think I was just being combative because I didn't understand.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
then when you move to New York and the kids is like, "Girl, you is in the way on the train," like they're totally comfortable and confident. Then you're like,
Totally.
"Okay, now I'm around my people. Like these people get it."
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that would be a big shift. All of a sudden you're being a little bit, oppressed down. Yeah, you feel like you have to be defensive. That's
Definitely.
not as free. Yeah. Who were you were surrounded by your mom. Who else were you surrounded by when you were growing up?
There's 5 siblings, so both my parents, together, they had 5 kids, so 3 boys, 2 girls. We all grew up together around our other cousins. All of my family was in Michigan, like, all my dad's side of family was in Michigan, so all of our cousins, aunts, uncles, we all went to church together, hung out together, Christmases, holidays, so it was really I always felt like I had a really big family. Like, we had a huge family, we were always together, we had a lot of kids our age. So I would say it was definitely my mom, a lot of college kids, and then my siblings were, like, my main impacts of my life, of people who I was surrounded with.
Mhm. That's great. And your mom was an educator. What did your dad do?
I would just say he was an entrepreneur. I can't really put exactly what he did consistently to a name,
Yeah.
but he constantly had, like, all of these different ventures. Like at one point he was a party promoter, at one point he was throwing plays and directing plays,
Oh,
another
okay.
moment he was selling AT&T, another moment he was selling dogs. So it was kind of like at one point he was franchising Wing Heaven restaurants. So
Oh, wow.
my
Yeah.
dad, I can't put it on a finger. He just was an entrepreneur. He would always just find a way.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of more of the entertainment arts, kind of just finding the way, freelancing, not wanting to
Yeah,
be
there
nailed
you
down kind
go.
of thing.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I can understand that. Okay,
There
that's
you go.
awesome. Yeah, so
Yeah.
were you a middle child, younger child? Because you said you had a sibling in New York when you moved there, so I imagine you're not the oldest. Is that right?
Yeah, so I'm actually 4 out of 5, so I'm the
Okay.
youngest girl in the family.
Okay, awesome. And
Yeah.
what are your siblings up to now?
Man, it ranges. My older sister and brother, they actually just created a game called Hella Awkward. So it's a
Oh,
card game that helps people have more deeper connections through conversation. My middle child brother, he's out in Memphis. He's actually a music producer. He has a studio and he does records out there. My younger brother, he's in med school right now. He's
wow.
becoming a doctor. He loves like concussion. Like he's like one of the coolest kids. He can pick up a guitar, learn how to, play guitar from scratch. Like he's just like a super brainy person.
Hmm.
And then me, I'm out in New York and I'm doing this business entrepreneurial spirit thing too.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, sounds like everybody's just kind of thriving, doing their
Yeah,
thing. That's
doing their
awesome.
thing, doing
Yeah.
their thing.
So you're in New York and have been there for about 9-ish years, is that what you said?
Yeah,
And you started doing, you said you were doing stylist and you went to, did you say beauty school, cosmetology school?
right.
So then how did that kind of morph into what you're doing now?
Yeah, it's actually a crazy story too because I had been doing hair even when I was in Memphis. Like when I started getting that trouble kid label, my mom was like, "Well, let me put you in something that frees you up." And she was like, "I have this, friend. She's a hairstylist out here. Maybe you can just work in her salon, wash
Nice.
hair, be creative,
Yeah.
just get artsy." So she put me into that, and I just loved it. So I went to hair school and came to New York to be trained. I spent years being a hairstylist. I worked in this really, really big salon. It was amazing. I was having like the time of my life. I was young, we were making a bunch of money, and it was just like we were living that New York life.
Mm.
Um, my oldest brother, he is actually the VP of a company called Overtime, and he has taught me a lot about business just by him being in the, corporate scene. So I always knew to handle even my freelancer kind of vibe job as a corporate business. I always kind of knew that structure. So when I went one day, I realized like how many clients I'm bringing in, how much revenue I make in the salon, like how many products I'm selling. And I'm like, I'm averaging well over everyone in the salon. It was a huge salon of 12 stylists. So I'm like, okay, at this point, it's time to renegotiate. So I go and I, set up a meeting. I'm like, let's renegotiate so that I can, I want more of my profit. I'm bringing in so much. I want more. They were like, "Actually, we were thinking that you should take a 2-week hiatus." And I was
Mm.
like, "Okay, interesting." I was like, "I have a full book of clients for the next 2 weeks." I'm like, "If I take a hiatus, they're like, "Yeah, we need you to pack up." So
Huh.
in that yeah, that literally was how it went. In that negotiation, they're like, "We don't wanna give you more, so we're just gonna try to stifle you." And at that point, I was like, "Well, if I have to take a hiatus, I'm just gonna leave." And they're like, "Okay." And I was like,
Wow.
"Okay."
Huh.
That day, literally that day, I was on my lunch, we were having a meeting at lunch. I had still clients for the rest of the day, and I had to just pack up my stuff and go.
Oh,
So
man.
after that, I was like, "Okay, I'm not going to work for anyone else again." Like, I'm like, this is the end for me.
Yeah.
I've done it, I've tried it, I was respectful. It's just I'm done. And that's actually when I started my mobile hair salon, and I was able to bring a good percentage of my clients into this mobile hair kind of vibe where I would travel to them and do
Mm.
their hair styling, color cuts and stuff like at their home, at their office, at their gym, wherever they were. And I was able to like really take off with that. And that's what started me to like owning business because I was like, okay, I can scale this. I was like, I can literally have more people come and work for me. I could take myself from behind the work and just have the platform where they can book other stylists. And I have the clientele will continue to build. And boom, I was like, oh, I'm a businesswoman. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't have to do hair anymore because I'm now making residual income from my booking service. I was like, well, what other things can I offer? And so that's when I came up with PinkPrint, which is what I'm doing now to teach other women in business how to be CEOs, how to really, get funding for their ideas and build their businesses.
Wow. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
huge.
It was. It was life-changing, and the funny thing
Yeah.
is the transition, it sounds easy when I'm telling the story back,
Right.
but the transition was so hard because I had dedicated so much of my life to hair, and when I fell in love with hair was at a time where I was really feeling stifled in life. Like I was feeling so boxed in, so it was hard for me to leave hair because I was so connected to it. It was like breaking up with like your longtime lover, and I was like, I don't
Yeah.
know how to leave you, you know? So
Mhm.
coming into becoming an entrepreneur and just being the boss, even still, it's like a challenge to be like, oh, I just want to go do the work. But it's like, no, no, no. You want to work on your business, not in your business. But yeah, it was a cool process looking back. During, not so much, but looking back on it, it was awesome.
Yeah, yeah, that's a huge transition, huge morph of not everybody would do that. I imagine most people would either try to backpedal to stay at the salon or try to find a different salon to go work for and then call it good, you know. So that's a huge shift in just taking ownership of your own future and trajectory. So you're saying, which I completely understand, it's hard to move away from the love of hair and the process of like probably being with your clients and just kind of having that kind of a lifestyle. What other things were difficult transition wise? Was it was there a big learning curve business wise? Though you had mentors that it sounds like that helped you out, or what would you say was some other challenges?
I think one of the other huge challenges that I can really note on was when I was a stylist, I would literally just show up to the location, my clients would be ready for me, and all I had to do was the hair. That was it. So now when I'm transitioning and I'm, on my own, I now have to do the hair, book the clients, order the products, make sure the customer service is like I now wear all of the hats and that was thrown on me within a lunch break. So
Right.
I now have to figure out how to manage all these tasks and keep the integrity of my business because now my business is no longer all I have to do is offer you great hair and sell you great products. Now my business is I have to offer the full service. And I, picked up on tips that the salon would use. Of course, when you're in the environment, you just kind of see certain things that are happening and working. But I mean, I didn't even know what booking platform to put my clients on. At first, I was just like, text me,
Yeah.
DM me on Instagram. So
Mhm.
it was literally just finding all of my systems. And I think that was another really hard thing to do. And that took a lot of time because you would try a system. Okay, it's costing me too much. Okay, this is not working properly. Do we create our own system? How long does that take? How do we transition people? All of the different things that go into just being, one job to now 10 jobs all in one. So that was another fun learning curve too.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, freelance anything is a million hats that you didn't even realize were coming.
So true. Literally.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
juggling. You're like, all right.
Yep.
You're juggling.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good thing for folks to hear too, that because a lot of times it's like, "Oh, you created all this stuff and it just kind of magically happened." All the work that goes into it and the time that it takes sometimes gets lost in the story or the transition time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So true.
Mhm.
It's so true. I,
Yeah.
I definitely think, especially I'm like right at the edge of Gen Z and millennial. So I kind of see, both sides of things sometimes, but I definitely feel like the culture now is like instant gratification, like let's just get it done and it should be working overnight. But I
Right.
think just because we have like the picture that everything works overnight, we no longer remember all the work that goes in the back end. Like my success story, literally, I tell people it took me, 20 years to get to where I'm at because I had to go through. I think what people forget is you have to build the character to get to the success point. And while
Mhm.
you're building the character, you have to try to enjoy it and not try to fight the process because you need to pick up all of the things that you need to pick up when it comes time for you to actually meet your opportunity. So I think people forget that part a lot.
Yeah, that's a good point. Definitely, because you can't just go through it as if you're waiting for the next thing, and not be experiencing and picking up the lessons that you're learning as you go. Definitely,
True.
yeah. Hmm.
Very
So
true.
that's a good point. Is that hairstyling mobile business still rolling now? So
Yeah, it's
how's
still
that
up
going?
rocking.
Yeah.
Actually, the funny thing is I've actually stepped away. I didn't sell the business, but I actually have people in place that are fully running it, and
Nice.
all I do is take, my owner's percentage from it, and I'm really proud that it is where it is and it's doing what it's doing. I honestly couldn't. I mean, it could definitely always be bigger, but I would have never thought that I would have something that I created off of a hardship, and now it's like feeding people, employing people, and it's making people happy and bringing good service. It's
Yeah.
crazy to think about. You're like, wow, my life is impacting others
Mm. Yeah, that's a
without
huge
me
part of
having
it.
to be there. Yeah, and like
Right.
I'm not
Yeah.
even there. That's the other
Mhm.
thing for me.
Mhm. Yeah, 'cause now you can focus on building more
Yeah,
things that will impact
other
more folks.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm like, is this how Jeff Bezos feels?
Right.
Like he knows people are always getting packages and he just feels like, wow, I'm impacting lives. Like I'm like, is this how it feels?
Oh my gosh, I feel like that would be super overwhelming.
Crazy. You're like, I literally deliver the world's packages. Like,
Right?
I'm the man for packages.
Especially during Christmas time.
Yeah, right.
It's just
Literally.
like knocking up man. Yeah, or if you're driving seeing the all the vehicles drive by with the little smiley faces. That would just
Yeah.
be I didn't think about it that way.
It's crazy. It's like, dang,
Mhm.
that's my impact on the world.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Some
It's
folks
crazy.
have the impact of just their community, and some folks the whole entire world. It's
Yeah.
insane. Yeah.
Both are necessary. Like I,
Yeah.
I also feel like a lot of times as an entrepreneur, you always are like, I want to be the next Jay-Z, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates. Like you always have those huge, people that you want to become. But people gotta also look at how important it is to impact your community. I'm like,
Mhm.
honestly, community is where it's at. Like when you could walk around your neighborhood and just like there's so much love because you've done so many things for people. Cause I feel like as a celebrity or like a huge mogul, do you ever get those moments where people are just like, "Hey, Jeff, I got my package. Like, look." Like, do you ever get those moments? Because I get those moments all the time because I'm so in my community.
Right. Yeah,
But
it's
both are good.
yeah. Both seem necessary, especially with how the world's going now, but yeah, there's something to the tight-knit community of a smaller impact, smaller community even. I think that that's not to go on a tangent on that, but I think that that's a big shift in our world wide web of the world now. Everything's connected, and it always was,
Mhm.
but connected in a different way, and it can be a little overwhelming. So I think shrinking your community or view of it anyway, not necessarily shrinking it, but yeah, it just kind of can be a little more connective and less overwhelming.
True.
So you have the mobile hair salon, and then you have had multiple other projects, but can you describe some of those and how they
Yes.
developed?
Sure. So after the mobile hair kind of was rocking on its own vibe, I really was enjoying the mobile energy of business. I was like, the fact that we can go anywhere and be recognized, it was intriguing. So the next thing I wanted to get into, and this kind of came by chance, I was actually dating this guy. He had a daughter, a 9-year-old daughter, and he was like, "Yeah, last summer I had her created her a little lemonade stand like right by the bridge." She was like, "It was super fun. The kids loved it." And I was like, "That sounds like a good business idea, actually." I was like, "What if we created these trucks and we made it so that kids could come learn business skills through, a fun nostalgic lemonade stand,
Oh,
and they could make money, save for college, put it in an investment portfolio, and then we could just have volunteers, come out and help out." And he was like, "That sounds dope." And I was like, "Let's do it." So we were like, "Okay, let's get the name." His daughter's name is Summer, so we named it Summer Squeeze. And we had two lemonade trucks running throughout the summers at different local events, street fairs, music festivals, different type of like huge foot traffic events. And I brought my entrepreneur spirit, and I was like, "Okay, we got to get exclusivity at every single venue." I was like, "We'll do two different size cups. It'll be like the day cup that you can come refill back." Like I just got super into it, and the kids loved it. I mean, COVID time, they were so mad because they were like,
Oh,
yeah, they were like, we didn't get to do summer squeeze. There's like, I was
oh.
wait, I was like, I was counting on that money. And like, and
Aw.
like these are like, 9-year old, 10, 12, 13-year olds. So they're like, man, that was like I was looking forward to it. So it was super sad last year, but we'll bring it back
Uh,
this year again, for
yeah,
the kids.
good.
But we took, inner city Brooklyn kids who have nothing to do during the summer because their parents are still working or,
Mhm.
can't afford to put them through like a summer camp. And we just picked them up, like they were our own, picked them up and they were like, yes, like, I'm getting something to do and I'm changing my life. Like we were like, you have to put the money either in an investment account or, a savings. Like you can't just go spend it on candy. Like we really want
Yeah.
you to, change your future. So I love Summer Squeeze. Summer Squeeze like a passion project.
That's awesome. That sounds really cool. How do you go about teaching them about the investing? Do you have kind of a separate time where you get together with them, or is it just while they're there?
No, so we really don't teach them about the investing.
Okay.
We set up their account with their parents so that the
Oh,
money is
nice.
just
Yeah.
sitting in the account and just is gaining interest. We more so teach them just about business with the on-hand experience. Like when we
Nice.
get like our first year, some of them didn't know how to like give change. Like with money, if they would
Yeah.
get a 20, they didn't know how to give the change. So it was like learning those different things of how to handle money, where to put it. Do you keep it in a cash box? Do we have a register? How do you take credit card payments? Just like things that you wouldn't think you needed to know, but once you get older, I know it's like, oh yeah, that they're gonna charge you 3% for that because like they'll be able
Yeah.
to quickly, state things in business that they might need to know in the future because they have the on-hand experience. And I'm like, see, this is the stuff that I wish that I would have known when I was transitioning, from a hairstylist to a business owner. So it's
Mhm.
like those business owner tips, I mean, they're running the whole truck by themselves. I mean, there's volunteers, to watch, but
Sure. Yeah.
it's them. They out there and they're like, "How do we market?" They're like, "We ain't getting no traffic." One of the kids will jump out and start dancing in the front, shaking lemonade, and he'll be like, "Come on, drink our lemonade." And like a bunch of people will come over because I'm like, "That's marketing. You're
Yep.
marketing. Yeah, you're like you're doing your thing." So it's like learning all the different, this like all the different wording for everything, how everything works. So it's super cool. I really enjoy it.
That sounds like an amazing, amazing business and way to, because now all those kids, when they go to get their first job, otherwise, then they'll say, "Oh yeah, I do have experience." Whereas a lot of kids will be like, "No, I'm new," which is fine too. But now they can bring something to their wherever they want to apply to. That's amazing.
Yeah, super
Yeah.
true. They can definitely say, "Yeah, I have cash register experience, I have marketing
Right.
experience, customer service experience,
Yeah.
like, I know how to handle money. What do you need me to do?"
Yeah. I totally
Yeah,
had to learn all that on the job when I was
yeah,
when I was in high school. So that's
yeah,
that's
16,
amazing.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah, and they're getting
That's
it early, so
awesome.
it is cool. They're, like,
When
fast
yeah.
tracked.
Yeah. When did you all start that?
That was 2019 March.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah,
So yeah,
March 2019. So we had that first year, it was great, then boom, COVID hit us, and then
yeah.
yeah.
So back to
So
it
we'll
this
do it
summer.
again. Yeah, we'll do it again. I'm excited.
Nice. Yeah, that's really exciting. Awesome.
It is. And it's just seasonal, so it's not like we have to, go all year. It's just from
Right.
we usually go from March till into August is when we stop when the,
Yeah.
um seasons change.
Perfect. Nice. Yeah, so you get a little break from it and can reset. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Any other projects you have going that you've kind of gotten into other than I know you have your I'm spacing on the name of it, the
Pink print.
pink
Yeah.
print. Yeah.
PinkPrint is literally Summer Squeeze, but for women in business. Instead of kids, it's
Okay.
for women in business. So we do the same thing. It's a digital product company where we teach first time women entrepreneurs how to, do everything that you need to do in entrepreneurship, how to run the business, how to scale, how to get funding, how to market, how to create your systems, literally teaching them everything through ebooks, courses, webinars. We're doing our first event actually in March. Our first like actual meetup event. We're doing like a learning luxury mansion LA link up. So I'm super excited about that. I was just actually on the phone with the event coordinator. She was like, everything is in place. We are ready to go. And
Oh,
I'm like, okay.
exciting. That's awesome.
I was like, let's rock it out. So those are like I would say those are like my three main babies. I do have like, your little side hustles like Airbnb, some Turo cars on Turo, stuff like that. But
Nice.
those are like the business business.
I like it. That's great. Sounds like you may have gotten the entrepreneurship gene from your dad passed down, huh?
Definitely. My sister just said that. She was like, "Bree, you could literally sell anything." She was like, "I don't know how it works for you, but she was like, you have it. You have
Hmm.
it."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, I do."
Yeah. Just natural. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have a specific story in mind? I know you kind of mentioned there was something that was a little bit pivotal in the last year or so that kind of shifted some things and maybe your perspective on some stuff. If you would like to share that, or if there's something else you had in mind that you wanted to share.
Yeah, I think I definitely during the like the COVID era, I definitely bunker down. I feel like whenever, for me personally, whenever everyone else is sleeping, I'm always the one like, I'm gonna stay up and work. Whenever everyone else is, in the house, I'm like, I'm gonna take the chance. Like, I'm always gonna do the opposite. So during COVID, I was actually able to make, more money in one period of time that I've ever made.
Mm.
Um, and at that time, I went back to Memphis because New York was closed. I had to shut down my hair salon here
Oh, that's
because New
right.
York was completely closed, but Memphis was open. So I was like, well, let me go back down to the salon that I worked at when I was there. My best friend actually had a salon who I went to high school with. She had a salon out there. So I was working with her and I was able to, save up, a ton of money. And I think what I learned during that time, my best friend ended up stealing all the money that I had saved up from me because I was keeping it in the apartment that we shared.
Mm.
And she ended up, taking it and whatever the case may be. And I learned so much during that time because I think I've always had this openness and trust for people. Like I told you, I grew up around my siblings. I've always been comfortable around people. I had such a huge open trust for people. And I think during COVID, I really realized really a lot more about just business and your plans and not really like sharing your plans until they're fully executed,
Mm.
how to execute things and still be open but not be sharing all, just little life ticks and nicks that really make you who you are. Like we talked about, build that character. Like at that time, I could honestly say it was so devastating for me. But now that I'm past it, I look back and I'm like, I needed that to happen. Like, I needed that to happen so that now that I'm in this sector where I'm like doing events and, working with a lot of women, I now know how to maneuver in this space, help like and be healthy. I don't feel like I give too much. I'm able to set boundaries. I'm able to be, nice, but also set my price and be confident in, what I'm doing. So I was like, that honestly, that is what inspired PinkPrint is that moment. I'm like, I want to create a community of women where we don't have to worry about things like that, or we don't have to focus on things like that, where we can literally just be happy for each other that we're growing and that we're, saving and, succeeding in life. So I was like, I'm gonna I'm gonna get that money back, but I'm gonna do a digital company because I had no money to get any new products or anything.
Mm.
So I was
Hmm.
like, I'm just gonna do a digital company. I was like, everything's gonna be ebooks, and I just sold a bunch of ebooks, and I was like, this is working, and I was like, I'm gonna just keep going. I'm gonna keep going. So I think that moment really changed a lot about how I look at the world, and it transitioned me even more into the business world. I'm grateful for it. I'm glad it happened.
Yeah, isn't it interesting how those types of scenarios can it really depends on how you look at it and how you choose to deal with it. You could get bitter and upset about it, or you can take it and learn from it and be stronger for it, which is sounds like is what you did. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like that's the important part for just being a human in general is
Mhm.
always, even if you're not in business, it's just always being able to figure out, okay, instead of being like, why me? Why did this happen to me? Really figure out, okay, sit down with yourself and be like, what did you need to learn? Because this has clearly happened to you because either you're lacking something or you need to gain something for this next, step in your life. So if you
Mhm.
can really sit there and get into yourself, and let's be honest, it hurts, right? When you've just gone through a traumatic situation, it hurts to get into yourself. Like the last thing you want to do is feel that pain or have to go through that traumatic experience over and over again in your head, but it
Mhm.
helps you really figure out what you need to gain. And when you gain it, it's like you just propel. Like as soon as you gain it, it's like, okay, we're off. Let's go.
Yeah, definitely. I imagine there was a time period that it took to be able to shift to making this into something productive or positive. Because I imagine maybe there was something going on as far as your friend being maybe potentially jealous or not understanding, not having the same tools or knowledge maybe that you had. So they felt like that was the only choice potentially to just steal the money instead of being able to work at it on their own. I'm just totally guessing, of course. But like, was that maybe the shift in like, I want to share this knowledge so that other women can have this knowledge to be able to be as successful and support each other and just shift the attitude around it? Is that hinting on it a little bit, or what would you
Are
say?
are you saying, like, is the reason why I wanted to start PinkPrint because of the relationship that I had with her? Is that
Either
kinda
that
what you're
or like or like yeah, kind of. Or why it happened maybe, I guess, but maybe I'm just reading into it in that way as far as like maybe she did that because she didn't have the knowledge and she couldn't make the money on
mm,
her own. And then so now you're wanting to shift to share that knowledge so that women can be supportive and things, but that could be totally different than what actually happened. So
yeah.
so
I definitely had so she took the money in August, and then I started PinkPrint in March. This was, 2020 to 2021.
okay.
So during that time period, of course, I definitely went down all of the possibilities of just why. Like in my head, I'm just like, why, you know?
Hmm.
But I definitely stopped thinking about the why. And I wanted to more so figure out one, how to prevent this for myself in the future. And I think definitely, like you're saying, what were the causes? How was I acting that made my friend feel like she had to take it from me instead
Mm,
of gain it with me? I definitely did a lot of self examination to figure out how I was possibly, a part of clearly it took two to make that happen. So
mm,
I definitely looked at how I contributed to creating either the emotional the emotional withdrawal that she had from our relationship where she felt like she had to do that. But I think it definitely propelled me to do Pink Print because I always for me personally, I've always had this kind of "you're going against authority" label put on me. And it was just more so because I've always been very strong minded. I've always had my own opinions. And I wanted to encourage other women that it's okay that you can be the boss. Like, if you're the boss, be the boss. And a lot of these women that I meet, they're operating their own businesses, but they're not they're not really being the boss of the business. They're kind of letting the business boss them more than they're bossing the business.
right.
And so I'm passionate to teach them, you got to move like the CEO. You got to move like the CEO, think like the CEO, talk like the CEO, walk like the CEO. And then you won't hit these roadblocks. Like, it should have never happened to where she had access to take money from me if I was moving like a CEO. If I was
Mm,
moving like a boss, that would have never been an option. But I wasn't at the time. I was, just trying to grind mode. So I'm
right.
like, let's transition from hustling to actually running a business. And I think that's what I'm transitioning these women into doing. And I mean, I was able to do it quicker this time because I had already did it when I was a hairstylist. So I took that
Hmm.
lesson to this and I was like, how do we propel forward quicker so we're not spending years trying to figure out what went wrong?
Right. Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense to me, especially I'm a freelancer as well. And I know how there's so much just ingrained, at least from my personal experience, there's so much ingrained in being, I don't know, a woman freelancer, just freelancer in general, probably,
Hmm.
but you approach it so differently than it seems like men might, and just because of our cultural, societal pressures of being nice or
Mm,
being accommodating, you know?
true.
So and it's there, but and as soon as I see it, I look at it, I'm like, ugh, what is this?
It's so true. I,
So
I see
yeah,
I see that all the time. Women are always like, "Well, I don't want them to be mad. I don't want to step
right.
on any toes." And,
Yeah.
"Oh, I didn't know I could do that." Like, it'll be simple things as far as like, "Hey, reach out to them, let them know that this is your terms, these are your prices, this is what it is." Like, if
Mhm.
they don't want to do it, we'll find someone else. And it's
Right.
being confident in that role. Like, hey, this is my business. This is what we do. If you
Mhm.
don't like it, bounce.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
And any other sector, like you said, like even with men, men will be comfortable and confident to be like, hey, we want 2%, we want to do a red split, we want this, we want that. They're comfortable stating their terms and be like, okay, let's negotiate. But for some reason, like you said, we've always had this like, oh, we got to be passive, we got to be, dainty and all
Mhm.
this, whatever, tiptoeing. I'm like, if you don't go in there and demand what you want and let people know this is how it is around you and this is how you move in, like that's what sets you up to be confident as a CEO. What makes you really move like a CEO is
Mhm.
stop thinking that they're giving you a job. No, you're the one giving the job. Okay?
Mhm.
Let's start thinking like that. I think have you know who the City Girls are?
I don't no, I don't,
The City Girls, it's like a rap group.
Okay.
These two women, a rap group, but one of the singers, she said a verse, her verse was, "I don't work jobs, I am the job." And I was like, that's how you have to move. Even if you
Mm.
are a freelancer, like you're not doing anything for me. Me being here is bringing value to anything that you have. So you're going to pay my price, you're going to agree to my terms, or else I'll bring my value somewhere else.
Mhm. Yeah.
Period.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think getting to that point of realizing that you're not gonna be out of work if one person says no, or it
Yeah,
doesn't work for one person, that scarcity mentality of
exactly.
yeah, yeah. Mhm. That's a big
That's so
hurdle.
true.
Mhm.
We have to think in abundance. We have to think that whatever wherever we are, in our lives, it's ordained. We're meant to be doing the work we're doing. It's for us to be doing it, or else it wouldn't have even worked out for us to be doing it. And we have to be confident that if it's for us, then we have to take everything else that is in there for us, or we'll be leaving, money on the table, as they like to say. We'll be leaving the opportunities on the table if we don't take what's ours. I have this mentality that I always say to other people when I tell them big dog I say big dog eats first. So I let them know in every sector you're the big dog. You have to think like that. You may not be. In some rooms you may
Mhm.
be the little dog in the room, but when your mentality is always thinking big dog eat first, I feel like it makes you propel yourself to be confident of like whatever are my boundaries, I'm comfortable setting them. And I'm not going to waver just because of an opportunity, just because of a relationship, just because of money. Like, this is who it is. This is what it is. And, you know,
Mhm. Yeah,
take it or leave
definitely.
it.
Mhm.
Because if it
Yeah.
doesn't work out, then there's another one.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's less about winning every single step. It's more about just being ready and open for whatever the next opportunity is that you
Hmm.
just gotta be ready for. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
and
being
I yeah.
authentic in who you
Mm.
are in those opportunities, because I've had opportunities to work with other brands, and a lot of times when you're getting hired, they'll try to hire you to fit their image of what they want to do in their brand. But you have to remind them you're hiring me because of the image that I have and the influence that I have. So I'm going to come in as me, and then you guys can work around that.
Mhm.
And and I think that's what I was saying to you earlier too, is that's why the process is so necessary, so that you can build the character, so that when you get into these positions, you understand who you are and you're not wavered on who you are. You can't
Mhm.
entice me with the amount of money to, like they say, I can't sell my soul. I want my soul. My soul is not for sale. I am who I am. I've learned what I've learned. I've experienced my experiences. I'm gonna stay strong in what I'm doing. And I think
Mhm.
entrepreneurs people in general have to just be confident that you have done the work. Okay?
Mhm.
You've done the work. Don't let them play you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Absolutely, and if it's not a fit, it's not a fit. Yeah. So you're just kinda getting rolling with everything, but I imagine it sounds like anyway in the last year or so, but I can imagine how powerful having a group of people together that are working towards that mentality and supporting each other in that way, how powerful that could be. So that's
Wow.
really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I think focusing on building that community other than focusing on making money was life changing for my business and for
Mm.
me, because I tell everybody on Instagram, I always say this when I'm on Instagram live, I'm like, if you're lazy, I'm gonna block you. I'm like, don't be lazy around me, because I always make sure that they understand, like, we protect everything else, right? We protect our man, our family, our money, but then for some reason we don't protect our focus, our work ethic. These things also have to be protected. And when you're around people who don't have your like mind, who don't want to work as hard as you, who don't want to be consistent, who want to constantly make excuses, you start low key becoming that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, if we're all together and each one of us is going just as hard every single day, imagine the impact that we'll make after 6 months, after 1 year, after, 90 months. I'm like, we can really change a lot of things around us if we just unite and do the work. So I
Mm-hmm.
always laugh and tell them, you're going to get blocked. You're going to get blocked.
Here's your reality check.
Look, I always tell them.
That's great. So you mentioned that your brother kind of helped you out with some of the business-minded thinking. What other influences have you had, either growing up before you even got into business stuff or throughout this process of building your own businesses?
Yeah, my brother definitely did. He taught me, how to write a business plan, pitch deck, like all those things that I've never even heard of before. But I also have been super grateful because I'm big on networking. That's like one of my big keys. I tell people all the time, like networking is your best friend. And I've been able to, cultivate these relationships with women who are super dope in their industries. And I guess they just have flocked to my spirit, and they've literally just anytime I have anything that I'm going through or that I'm doing, like with this event, they're like, "Oh yeah, I host an event just like this. Let's jump on a call and I'll walk you through how to set it up." And I'm like, "All right." Like it's like a lot of times I don't even have to put myself out there for it. They'll just kind of have come to me, and it's been like one-off things. Like every time I do something new, somebody is always willing to like just walk me through it before I even start. So I've been
Mm.
grateful that I've had those opportunities because I think mentorship is super important. Like you literally bypass so many potholes in the road when you just have somebody to tell you, "Oh, watch that. That'll get you, that'll get you
Right.
messed up. Oh, do that because that's going to help you do this." So it's like, okay, great. It's like a playmaker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are some of the ways that you've met some of your mentors currently?
IG is thebomb.com. You can
Ah,
meet people all the way in California sitting in
yep.
your bed,
Right.
like IG is huge. I'm big on it goes down the DMs. That's like, that's me.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely do, like Rihanna said, pull up. So I think going to events is a big thing, like putting yourself out there. So I always tell people make a goal to go to at least, 5 events every quarter. So I'll tell them do 3 in your industry, do 2 outside of your industry, and do 1 where you think your customer base is. Because you meet mentors in different sectors. You might be in finance and they might be a golfer, but they might just have so many tools to help you, utilize in your business. So I always tell people get around different people that think differently, but still, like-mindedly about what they're doing so that you can grow in different areas of character, self, business, all of that.
Yeah. That's great advice. That's wonderful. Yeah. Well, let's see. You've talked about this event coming up in March. You want to share a
Yes.
little more about what's coming up?
Yes, we are going to be in LA, Hollywood Hills, for the learning and luxury event called The Link Up. So we are pulling up. We're going to be having private chef, open bar, business gurus, education, breakout sessions, content creation. I mean, we're really giving it for the girls. Like we're giving it. So women entrepreneurs, we encourage everyone to come out in March 17th and 18th to really just network with like-minded women, learn new things about business, build community, eat good, drink good, enjoy the views, enjoy the vibes. Have you ever been to LA?
It's been a long time, but yeah. Yeah,
It's beautiful, and the
it is.
vibes is
Yeah.
the vibes is hitting.
Mhm.
And we're
Yeah,
gonna
that sounds
be in
great.
a mansion in the hills, so like you can imagine, you're just looking over all these
Wow.
beautiful hills. And I always tell people like you can only expand your thinking when you're introduced to new things, right? So when you're introduced to new things, you now can expand yourself. So I'm like, you need to be in the rooms of things like this so that you can see new things and expand your thinking. So I'm excited for the mansion. A lot of them have never been to a mansion before, never been to
Yeah.
LA before. I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, when you see an LA palm tree, you'll start thinking about different things that you can do in life. It's just like it happens.
Something magical. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds like a really amazing time. That's
Yeah,
gonna be awesome.
I'm super excited. It's gonna be good.
Awesome.
It's gonna be good.
Well, was there anything else that you would like to share? Anybody else you want to highlight or mention before we wrap up?
No, shout out just to all my siblings, for doing their thing and super proud of them. I'm huge on family. Shout out to them for just always being supportive and loving throughout, the journey and the process. Of course, my mom, she's been a pivotal person in my life. So, to God be the glory, and we're just going to keep moving up.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for hanging out with me. It's been great to chat with you. I've learned a lot. It's been
Oh, I love that. Good. I'm
It's
excited that you
wonderful.
did. I've
Yeah,
enjoyed
yeah.
this. It was super, super smooth.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, thank you so much for being a part of it. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Good to connect with you today. Thank you for joining us for Take Notice Amplifying Black Stories. Please subscribe and follow us on social media. We are at Take Notice Podcast. It would really help us out if you could take a couple of minutes to review our podcast. You can do so through your podcast app or by visiting our website. It's takenoticepodcast.org. Thank you for your support. Take Notice Amplifying Black Stories is produced, hosted, and edited by Allison Preisinger-Heggins with help from many. Music by Version Big 5 featuring Darius Heggins. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for taking notice.